So which one's better? Pentatonic scale or modes? We're going to answer that question today on the channel. Hello, this is David. If you are new to the channel, thank you so much for stopping by. This channel is all about helping you unlock your musicality on the instrument so that you can tell a better musical story. Before we get started, I prepared for you a free workshop. This workshop is called the Music Theory DNA course. If you have not yet taken it, you should. It's completely free and it will really help you out. The link is below. And just sign up for free and go through the workshop. It's going to help you make sense of music theory in a very practical, simple way. It's a new thing. Check it out. All right, so today we're talking about pentatonic scales versus modes. And the reason I'm talking about this is that oftentimes we can place a player in one of these two categories. I say oftentimes, but not always. And hopefully you'll get to understand that by the end of the video. First of all, let's define a little bit the characteristics of a pentatonic player. A pentatonic player is a player who's going to rely heavily on the pentatonic scale, that 5-note scale. Blues licks, very expressive. Oftentimes it sounds great. It's great. It's awesome. I really love the pentatonic type of player. And then there's the mode player. The player who will use modes a lot. And really within the modes players, if I had to define a modal player, I will call him an educated player. And I don't mean that pentatonic players are uneducated. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying that within the mode category, I've seen a lot of students who understand the modes, the construction of these modes, and it's more of a cerebral approach, a mental approach to playing where there's a lot of analyzing what's going on. Think, jazz players will use a lot of modes, and it's just a different approach. Sometimes mode players are not as expressive as pentatonic players. Please don't take offense by this if you're a mode player. I'm not saying that you're not expressive at all. I'm just saying that it's the general idea oftentimes when players are introduced to modes, that modes are a little, mental sometimes, and you might lose some of the feel that you might get with a pentatonic scale. I promise there is a very practical application for you in this video, so stick with me. I just want to define those two types of playings. So let's take a look at a pentatonic scale. What is a pentatonic scale? A pentatonic scale is a 5-note scale, and typically it's the very first scale that you will learn on the guitar, the minor pentatonic scale, those 5 notes, and usually we'll learn these 5 notes within the first position of the minor pentatonic scale. That scale that I'm playing in A right here, this is an A minor pentatonic scale, is often referred to as the box. This is kind of a box. It's contained in a narrow area of the fretboard, and within that box, you can pretty much play over anything. All these blues licks, these bends that we all love, are very easily achieved within that pentatonic scale box. And many players use that minor pentatonic scale box exclusively in their playing. And I'm talking top players, they've made a career with that box. And that's great. Nothing wrong with that. We're going to go a little bit further. We're going to look at the types of notes that we find within that minor pentatonic scale, within that box. And so if I look at the notes that I'm playing within that box, within that minor pentatonic scale we love so much, I can assign a number to each of these notes. And it'll be as follows. The first note is the 1, the root. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. And then we're going to repeat these 5 notes, these 5 intervals, an octave higher. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3, and then I'm going to stop here because I'm trying to contain everything right here. So these 5 notes are going to have different flavors as I'm playing. And that's how we create our story, with different notes that have different functions. If all this is completely unclear, you should, again, sign up to that free DNA course. It's going to explain and cover all the gaps that you might not know about. The link is below. But for now, bear with me. Let's continue a little bit. So we have 5 notes here. Scales are groups of notes that you can use to create your story. In the real world, what do we use for stories? Well, we use alphabets. An alphabet, a set of different letters, combined together will create words. Different words together will create sentences. Different sentences will create paragraphs, story, and all of that. But it all starts with the alphabet. In this case, we are dealing with a 5-note alphabet, the 5-note pentatonic scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The only difference is that here we have way less letters than the real alphabet, and we're giving these letters numbers. 1, 5, 3, 4, 5, 5, 7. Don't be confused. I am almost to my point, which is going to be very practical for you. A mode typically is a richer alphabet. You can see it as a richer musical alphabet. Modes typically will have 7 notes. So a mode is really a 7-letter alphabet from which you can create words. Different words will create sentences. Sentences will create, and so forth. So really, a mode is a richer alphabet that will allow you to add a little bit more details to your story. And here's where things get really interesting. If you take one of the most commonly used modes, whether it's a minor mode, telling a minor story, or a major mode, a major story, you will find within these most commonly used modes, 7-letter musical alphabets, a hidden pentatonic scale. So really they go hand in hand. In other words, a mode, a 7-letter alphabet, can be seen as a 5-letter alphabet plus 2 additional letters. This also means that whenever you are using a minor pentatonic scale, you're using a mode. You're just choosing, whether it's on purpose or not, whether you're aware of it or not, to omit 2 letters to the 7-letter alphabet. You're only 2 notes away from playing fully modal. Let's take this backing track, for example. This backing track is in A Dorian, 7 letters that will correspond to the Dorian alphabet. Here's that alphabet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I can repeat that in the next octave. And I can start building a story using these 7 different letters. But I can also find within that 7-letter alphabet the minor pentatonic scale. 5 notes, because these 5 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, are found within that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7-letter alphabet. That means that I can play all my minor pentatonic licks here. So I'm playing Dorian here. I'm just choosing 5 notes of the Dorian mode. All right, so we established that a mode is really a pentatonic scale to which we're adding 2 notes. So really it's the same kind of thing. It's just using a simpler form of the 7-letter alphabet. So why is this even a video? Why is it even a question? Which one is better, pentatonic or a mode? Well, I think it's not because of the construction of these scales. I think it's because of the phrasing. So phrasing is the way that you're going to use a scale, whether it's a 7-note scale or a 5-note scale, to create music, to speak, to create your words. And oftentimes, players are very comfortable with the minor pentatonic scale because it's the first scale they learn. It falls under the fingers very well. It's easy to play. And all these licks are very comfortable. And it's just a spoken language that is very everyday language, very easy to use. On the other hand, when players start getting into modes, oftentimes these modes are taught in a completely different system, a completely different shape. Oftentimes players will be introduced to modes with the 3-note per string system, which looks very different from the minor pentatonic scale. And that's where the problem is, because our fingers are not really used when we start playing with these modes to these patterns. And when they do get used to these 3-note per string systems, well, they tend to think in terms of patterns and sequences, and it sounds very different from the phrasing we would have with the pentatonic scale. See here, I'm playing with the pentatonic scale. It's fluid, it's expressive, it's very easy to play, and very relatable for the listener. Whereas here, when I'm playing with these 3-note per string modes, it sounds a lot more mechanical and a lot more guitar exercise driven. It's very different. Not better, not worse, different. And that can be so easily fixed by building your whole story using the pentatonic scale as a home base, as your common way of storytelling, your simple storytelling to which you are simply adding a couple notes. And all that can be done within the same exact box that you most likely started with. So back to our A Dorian backing track, if we have a minor pentatonic scale box right here, all I need to add to my 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7 is a second and a sixth. And I can do that within that position. It'll look something like this. It's not really prone to all the sequences that you will get in the 3-note per string system, but that's okay, because we're telling a story. We're not telling the alphabet really fast, right? So that story is going to be based on the minor pentatonic scale that you love so much. And we're just going to inject to that 5-note scale the second and the sixth if we're in Dorian. You might need to watch this video one more time to catch some of the hidden things that I placed in there. Do it with your guitar. Pause the video as something comes up, because I really want you to experience those different things and try them on your own. This is really important. That's how all these concepts are going to become personal to you. It's all about self-expression. But just remember, modes, pentatonic, same thing. Just use your pentatonic to tell your basic story and add those couple notes to add a little bit more details. If you want to go a little bit further with this video will explain how I was finally able to break from playing pentatonic to the modes. It all has to do with a weird shape that came into a dream. Check it out. I'll meet you right there. Thanks for watching this video. Practice well.